My name's Adam Monaco and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
A very warm welcome to Sydney Motorsport Park for round one of this year's Swann Super Series. My name is Lance Robertson and joining me in commentary is Tim Graham. What a perfect day, Tim.
Yeah, Sydney's definitely turned on the weather today for round one of the Swann Super Series here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Well, there's been a lot of things happening in the off-season and one of those is the production of a new race team, At One Racing. A little earlier we caught up with the team principal, Dominic De Leon.
It's a sport I love, you know, it's something I think that you know, coming from Trinidad, starting riding at 4, it's something that I've always loved. My dad raced cars, I like my cars as well, but for some reason the bikes have always been something I've been drawn to. I want to give to the sport, I want to give to the riders, you know, I want to provide a product for the suits that is top notch. So I decided to start a team to provide a service to my guys that's top notch, you know, it's just to try and put my spin, my excitement, attitude into the sport. 2 bikes are in the Superbike class, 1 bike is in the Formula Oz class, 1 bike is in the Super Sport, and 1 is in the Ninja 300. Australia have such a nice atmosphere, such a nice everything about it. You know, like back in England, guys across there would kill for this. And then at a race meet, I want to see it crowded, you know. I want the people out there to see this. Is so much, so exciting for the crowd. They will need to come out and watch it, you know. It's amazing.
The 2017 Swann Super Series has many categories of racing, including this one, the Premier Class, the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes, incorporating the Formula Oz A grade and the FX C and D grade riders as well. And pole sitter is Brendan McIntyre on board his Western Motorcycle 7 Friday Suzuki. Alongside of him, Brad Swallow and Lucas Vitali.
Yeah, leading row 2 is Simon Galloway, along with Dominic De Leon and Brett Harper.
Following them, Con Kokoris, Jean-Gabriel Lane and Kelvin Riley making a welcome return to racing.
Yeah, Jeremy Mears, Damien Sutton and Stuart Fripp rounding out row 3.
There are 25 riders in all that will be contesting this first of many races throughout the year. 7 laps at Sydney Motorsport Park. Looking forward to it with no little expectation. It's great to see the Suzuki on pole.
Yes, on the older model too, Lance, that Suzuki. Brendan's looking forward to the new model that's going to come out later in the year with no uncertain turns. And the race start, a good start there by Dominic De Leon.
On board with Dominic, but it looks like it's Brad Swallow that's got the whole shot. On board is Kawasaki, doing a good job so far on the Kawasaki Connection ZX-10R.
Yeah, second year on the big superbike for young Brad Swallow from Kawasaki and Kawasaki Connection. So first rider into bikebiz.com.au turn 2.
Looks like Brendan McIntyre has slotted himself in there. Lucas Vitali back there in 4th. Just ahead of him is the number 63, the At One Racing Dominic De Leon. Who's that that's lost the front end? He's gone down, unfortunately, in turn 3.
Yeah, I think that was Stuart Fripp there, Lance, on his R1 Yamaha. Unfortunately, losing the front end coming through bikehaggle.com.au drop-off.
Yes, a very important part of the circuit. The first time that they're on the right-hand edge of the tyres and unfortunately falling foul. There goes Vitali up the inside now of Dominic De Leon, relegating him back to 4th place. But it's all about Brad Swallow. A great start for the youngster from Newcastle.
Yeah, Brad's got a couple of bike lengths already as they come through Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill section of the circuit there. And I see Lucas Vitali up the inside of his new teammate and team principal Dominic De Leon.
Yeah, gets one up on the boss nice and early. The At One race suits Lucas Vitali, doing a good job to show the boss how it's done.
Yes, and Lucas on the Kawasaki this year. We've seen him riding the GSXR 1000 Suzuki for the last couple of years, but look at Simon Galloway now, Lance, coming right on the back wheel of Brad Swallow's Kawasaki.
Heading out of the final turns on this circuit. The Wayne Gardner Racing Circuit is where we're contesting it, of course, down the 1,000 metre long straight into turn number 1, and doing a great job as Brad Swallow to hold off the challengers nice and early.
Yeah, Brad Swallow holding out Simon Galloway there into turn 1, Races World turn 1, that is. Simon, very wily old fox there, one of the most experienced riders in Australia is Simon on his Cessnock Motorcycles R1.
Out of bikebiz.com.au through the right-hander that leads up over the bikehaggle.com.au drop-off. Here's an opportunity for us to have a replay, a look from the rear of Simon Galloway's Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha as he heads down through turn number 1, Races World.
Yeah, got a very good start there. Simon made a few positions on the start.
On board with the Mega Resources Stuart Fripp now as he heads down into turn number 1. Got a good start, but then got a little bit squeezed as Brett Kitchen came across in front of him.
And here's a replay of that incident. It's actually a John Gabriel Lane on his Yamaha R1 that's come to grief there in turn 3.
No harm, no foul, just a little bit of a slide through the grass, nice and easy. He's a little bit upset with himself, of course. Now a replay of Lucas Vitale getting one up on the boss.
And all the riders are bunching up now as they get ready to come down the Swan Insurance main straight again. Look at Brendan McIntyre right on the back wheel of Simon Galloway. Brad Swallow still out in front though, maintaining his lead in the race.
He's doing a good job as he heads out of Matrice Dampers, turns 11 and 12 for the run down the Swan Insurance main straight. Lucas Vitale gets up the inside and progresses up into third placing right now.
Yeah, looks like Lucas is really liking coming to grips with the new ZX10R4, the At-One racing suits, but the two riders out in front there, Lance, have pulled a little bit of a gap on third and fourth.
Yes, they have indeed, as Simon Galloway is trying very hard indeed to make up for lost ground. You can see the different lines there as we're on board with Lucas Vitale in third place, heading out of bikebiz.com.au, up over bikehaggle.com.au. Here's a replay now of Lucas Vitale getting up the inside, drafting Brendan McIntyre on that older model Suzuki. As you mentioned earlier, the Western Motorcycles Suzuki mounted rider looking forward to about halfway through the season receiving his brand new Suzuki.
Brad Swallow still maintaining that lead as they come through Sydney Motorsport Park, Ride Days, Corporate Hill, and showing some old head on young shoulders there, Brad Swallow, with all the pressure put on him by Simon Galloway.
Through turn number 8, of course, the back of the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill area, down into turn number 9, onto the Ipones Oils back straight. Extremely important to get the drive down here, Tim, so that they can negotiate the Matrice Dampers turns 10, 11 and 12.
Yeah, and that shows how fast you can go down the front straight too. All the pressures on the riders out in front. 4 riders now closing right down with Brendan McIntyre in his Western Motorcycle Suzuki right there on the tail of Lucas Vitale.
Well, we have a Kawasaki leading a Yamaha with another Kawasaki and a Suzuki behind it. All bodes well for all marques or manufacturers this year in the Swann Super Series.
Yeah, but once again through Races World turn 1, Brad Swallow looks like he may have got a gap or 2 bike lengths there over Simon Galloway. So really having a great race, the youngster from the Hunter region.
Yeah, a couple of Novocastrians up against a couple of Sydney-siders here. So it's all on the line as Dominic De Leon is doing a good job a little bit further back behind the field.
Yeah, Dominic sitting in about 5th spot at the moment, but showing some great form with his new team, with Lucas Vitale sitting in 3rd on the At-One racing team, but Brad Swallow out of the seat there coming through the turn 4 section of the circuit.
Gets the yippee shakes as he heads out of there. That is a right-left combination known as Dunlop Sportsmax, which leads up into this area, the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days hard left-hand corner for the drive around the Corporate Hill area, turn 8. Watching the front end of the bike incredibly here, making sure that it doesn't wash away from you, because it is very adverse camber there and can draw you to the outside of the circuit, Tim.
Yeah, it's a very tricky part of the circuit here. Once again, look at that, the front wheel going in absolute wrong direction there, but didn't slow him down at all, did it there? Here's a onboard shot of it, but maintains the speed and no, still out in front. So a great ride there by Brad Swallow.
Only a half heart in the mouth moment.
Yes, a bit of a back end slide too by Brendan McIntyre coming onto the Swan Insurance main straight, but showing how hard he actually pushing that Suzuki.
Look at the power of that At-One Racing Kawasaki ZX10R. of Lucas Vitali made up a lot of ground, is now within pouncing distance of the two riders in front of him. This man, Simon Galloway, on the Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha R1, and Brad Swallow on the Kawasaki Connection ZX-10R leading the race.
Yeah, Lucas Vitale trying very hard to get closer to Simon Galloway. Lost a bit of ground, ran a bit wide there through bikebiz.com.au. So Simon's got a little bit of a buffer now over third place.
For the final time in this first 7-lap encounter here at Sydney Motorsport Park, as round 1 of the Swann Super Series is certainly well and truly underway. Out of Dunlop Sportsmax, up towards Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Turn 6.
Yeah, Brad Swallow on that green livered ZX-10R. I'm pretty sure, Lance, this would be his first national superbike win too for the youngster.
Yes, it will certainly be a feather in his cap as one of our slower riders gets out of the road. That is the Alpine Star Bell Helmet's Daniel McKillop on his Suzuki GSX R1000, doing a great job not to alter any of the action at the front of the pack. Brad Swallow heads them down the end of Ipone Oil's back straight into Patrice Dampers for the final time.
Yes, maintaining that lead from start to finish, you'd have to say there, Lance, but all the pressure put on the youngster from Simon Galloway, but it looks like it's going to be Brad Swallow for the Kawasaki Connections, Do Speed and Kawasaki machine.
Doing a great job as Brad Swallow from green light, whole shot through to checkered flag, chased right to the end by Simon Galloway. Lucas Vitali in third. Fourth place, a creditable effort on the older model Suzuki for Brendan McIntyre.
Yes, and a couple of the other riders coming through the field. We just saw Kelvin Riley, as you mentioned, 2 Lances in the top 10, and he'd be very pleased with that result, coming back after 8 or 9 years since he's had a race competitively.
Yes, the former British Superbike rider, and of course the owner of BC Performance. So let's recap the results now as we look at them. First place going to Brad Swallow ahead of Simon Galloway, Lucas Vitali. Brendan McIntyre, a great job first of the Suzukis. Dominic De Leon, Brett Harper. Kelvin Riley finishing in the top 10, as well as Con Kokoris. And Brett Kitchen rounding out the top 10 is Damien Sutton.
Yeah, it was awesome, you know, we got a good start there and got the start, and into turn 2, you know, we sort of had a bit of a lead, had a couple moments halfway through sort of thing. We'll just have to make some slight suspension changes there, but you know, the bike other than that is performing awesomely. Can't thank the team enough, Kawasaki Connection, Bridgestone, Whites Racing Products, and of course the folks for making it all possible as well. So
it was a good battle I had there with Brad. I thought I could have made a pass, but I probably left a bit late. But anyway, it was good fun, and it's good to get the first one out of the way.
Made it hard for myself at the start. Never done a race start on this bike before, so yeah, I really made a mess of that. I think I fell back to about 5th. So yeah, I made my way up to the front, but I knew, you know, first race, brand new bike, there's no point in pushing too hard. So I just followed the boys around. I could stay there with them, but couldn't really make a pass. So really want to thank the At1 Pro Race Suits racing team, BC Performance, for building a weapon of a bike, Silkaline oils, contrast printing, and first place building.
Well, don't go too far away, folks. The scene is set for great action here at Sydney Motorsport Park on the other side of this break. Join us for the continuation of the Superbikes and the ever-popular Stars of Tomorrow. Welcome back to Sydney Motorsport Park for our continued coverage of round 1 of this year's Swann Super Series. Of course, the Superbikes will be out for their second race very shortly, but before that, one of the riders that has stepped up to the Superbikes this year is Simon Galloway, and we caught up with him a little earlier.
It's another challenge. You know, you always got to try and challenge yourself a bit more, so I thought I'd have a crack in the Superbike this year, why not? Well, of course, I'd like to win the title. You know, I've injured myself a little bit, so that's going to play a bit of havoc, I guess. I injured my knee 4 months ago, but 2 weeks ago on a dirt bike I dislocated it, and I've torn the ACL, and it's given me a bit of grief, but we'll just have a go and see how we end up. This series now is very achievable for the average Joe Blow like myself to race in, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Tim, you'd never realised that Simon Galloway had an injury with his performance in race number 1.
Yeah, seen him walking around the pit, or hobbling around the pits, I should say, Lance. And after his first race performance there, like you said, it'd be hard to tell that he's actually walking around and riding on one leg.
Well, we're looking forward to this one with no little expectation, as the classic saying goes. Because young Brad Swallow, taking his maiden Superbike victory, occupies pole position with Simon Galloway and Lucas Vitale sharing the front row of the grid.
Brendan McIntyre leading row 2 from Dominic De Leon and Brett Harper.
Sharing the third row is Kelvin Riley, Con Kokoris and Brett Kitchen.
Damien Sutton, the first and only of the Formula Oz A-graders there from Simon Barmichello and Tim Griffith.
Somfort Rosner, Jeremy Mears and Nick Marsh round up your top 15 runners. We're underway. Green lights are on. And we're off and racing in earnest. It looks like Brad Swallow swoops across the front again on that beautifully prepared Kawasaki Connection ZX-10R and takes the whole shot for the second consecutive race.
Yeah, really wide line there by Brad coming into turn 1 there. But look at Lucas Vitale. He's not mucking around already, Lance. He wants to get up to the front and really take it to Brad Swallow after his round 1 victory.
And there is that Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha mounted Simon Galloway spoiling the party at the front for those two runners and occupying second. But Vitale on the At1 Pro Race suits Kawasaki ZX-10R down through Dunlop and outside, inside, swoops across in front and occupies second position now.
Yeah, a good manoeuvre up the inside of Brendan McIntyre. So now Lucas Vitale is ready to come up Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill area. Brad Swallow's going to have all his work cut out for him this time because the riders are much closer than in race 1.
Brendan McIntyre's Western Motorcycle 7 Friday Suzuki is doing a great job to be up at the front of the pack so early on.
Backing it in, young Brad Swallow. He's not mucking around on the first lap there, Lancer, building his confidence as the race goes on after his first national victory in race number 1. But here comes Lucas Vitale getting ready to come through Matria's dampers part of the circuit. And very experienced Lucas. He's another one of the riders that stepped up from Formula Oz into the Premier Superbike class.
Doing a good job, that Triple Apex Matrice Dampers corner that leads on to the 1 kilometre long Swann Insurance Main Straight. Important to get the drive so that you can do exactly what Lucas Vitale has done and maximise the opportunity of slipstreaming. He now occupies the race lead through Racers World Turn 1.
Yeah, now Brad Swallow has all the work to do because Lucas Vitale a multiple race winner in the Formula Oz class as they get ready to come through bikebiz.com.au. Swallow right on the back wheel of Vitale, but don't forget the riders behind. We've got McIntyre and Galloway as well.
Well, just a small correction there, Tim. In fact, Lucas Vitale was more the bridesmaid than he was the bride quite often in Formula Oz. It was all about Simon Galloway, the man that is chasing him. But those two were battle royales throughout the seasons gone. On board with Stuart Fripp, who luckily has been able to get himself back up and racing again after a fall in race number 1. And a replay now of that slipstreaming of Lucas Vitale as he headed down the Swann Insurance Main Straight and relegated Brad Swallow back to second.
Yeah, both on ZX-10R, so fairly identical, those two machines. But Lucas Vitale, this is only his second race on the ZX-10R after moving from the Suzuki's and joining the at-racing team of Dominic De Leon.
There we have the Western Motorcycle 7 Fridays entry of the Suzuki mounted Brendan McIntyre. Take this opportunity with the Yamaha behind him of Simon Galloway to compliment all the riders early on in the season of the presentation of their bikes.
Oh, the livery is it's outstanding, Lance. It's world class, and all the riders are. And it's great to have Dominic De Leon with his At1 racing team looking so good first time out.
And with a race leader as well, one of his team riders, Lucas Vitale, on the At1 Pro Race suits. Heading this man, Brad Swallow, on the Kawasaki Connections, both of them, as you mentioned, ZX-10Rs, over the top of bikehaggle.com.au, drop off and down into Dunlop Sportsmax. Nothing asked. Oh, big head shake.
I could see there Brad Swallow coming through Sportsmax, putting a lot of pressure on the front end of that machine, went a little bit wide, tried to correct it, and he's not afraid to throw the machine around, is he, Lance?
No, he's not, but that momentarily balked on shore Simon Galloway and Brendan McIntyre in third and fourth. Here's a replay of Simon Galloway on board the Chris Watson Motorcycles entry, just getting past Brendan McIntyre, and then more reminiscent of motocross jumping between the right and left-handers known as Dunlop Sportsmax for the Kawasaki Connection mounted ZX-10R rider Brad Swallow.
That's giving Lucas Vitale a little bit of a buffer, but Brad's straight on the power once again, so it hasn't slowed him down again, and Simon Galloway and Brendan McIntyre are right there to pick up any mistakes.
I think it's encouraged both of them, seeing that there is a little bit of troubles or dramas ahead of them. Here comes Swallow, chucking a Vitali on Vitali as he headed down the end of the Swann Insurance main straight through Races World. He maximised the opportunity of a slipstream.
Yeah, did exactly the same thing that he did to himself, Brad Swallow and Lucas Vitali swapping positions down the long 1 kilometre straight at Sydney Motorsport Park, but now Brad Swallow through bikebiz.com.au gets a little bit of an advantage, Lance.
He does indeed, and also Simon Galloway now up onto the rear of Lucas Vitali, and he's mounting a serious challenge, and Brendan McIntyre in the meantime trying to wring the neck off that older model Suzuki in fourth.
Yeah, riding very well, Brendan. Those newer machines out in front, a few more horsepower with the ZX10s and the R1s.
Here's a replay now of Brad Swallow on the Kawasaki Connection ZX10R, trying to get up the inside of the At1 Pro Race Suits mounted Kawasaki ZX10R rider Lucas Vitali. Both of them doing a good job to give each other the racing room that's needed. Back to live action now as they head around the backside of the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill through turn 9 for the rundown iPone Oils back straight.
Yeah, very tricky part of the circuit here, and how fast you take the line through here, it depends on how fast you're going down the main straight. And we saw for the last 2 laps, Lance, the slipstreaming has been used perfectly by both of these riders, but Simon Galloway could pick up a bit of slipstream this time as well as Brendan McIntyre.
Yeah, if McIntyre gets a good run here, he could stay within challenge of that Yamaha, but both of these Kawasaki's seem to have the top end speed down the Swann Insurance main straight. Neither the Yamaha behind nor the the Suzuki in fourth place are able to do anything about it. They just that little bit of a gap, it's too far.
Yeah, and once again, Vitali gets the slipstream up the inside of Brad Swallow, but Brad Swallow's having none of it into bikebiz.com.au up the inside of Vitali. He wants win number 2 of his career, Lance.
These Kawasaki's are very strong in a straight line, and the power down to the end of the main straight is good for them. But over the technical section of the circuit that they're negotiating now, both the Yamaha and the Suzuki come into their own.
Yeah, the Suzuki of Brendan McIntyre is an older model, but it's been set up perfectly, as well as Simon Galloway's Chris Watson Motorcycles R1. But at the moment, Brad Swallow, backing it into Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days.
Yeah, for the run around Corporate Hill and down into turn number 9, the slowest right-hander. Only one of a couple of right-handers here at Sydney Motorsport Park. A replay now of Lucas Vitali overtaking Brad Swallow on that last lap.
Yeah, they're taking into turns to do the slipstream down the Swann Insurance main straight there, Lance. First it was Vitali, then Swallow. Vitali gets him back.
And now Brad Swallow, a replay here of him getting up the inside down in turn 2, the bikebiz.com.au corner. And you can see that he leads the field out of there and up over the top of the run down through bikehaggle.com.au. But we're at the other end of the circuit now as they're heading out of the final turns on the Matrice Dampers, turns 11 and 12 for the run down the Swann Insurance main straight.
Yeah, Vitali once again using a little bit of that slipstream, but I don't think he's close enough this time, Lance, as they go down the Swann Insurance main straight into Races World turn 1. Let's see who's got the biggest breaks into bikebiz.com.au.
And look at the Yamaha now of Simon Galloway. Oh, look at Swallow dancing around on the front wheel. Vitali taking evasive action to the inside. Simon Galloway looking for any opportunity on this final lap as they head out of bikebiz.com.au for the run over bikehaggle.com.au drop-off and down into Dunlop Sportsbacks for the last time.
Yeah, Brad Swallow is an A-grade motocross rider, as we can see well, and he's doing the same thing on the big ZX10. Vitali's trying everything he can to get up the inside of that green livered Kawasaki. Can't quite do it. Brad Swallow's maintain the lead as they come to Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days once again. Vitali, nearly up the back wheel of Brad Swallow, then runs wide and loses 2 positions, Lance.
Yeah, from race lead almost to now in fourth place. This has handed a two-peat on a silver platter to young Brad Swallow, I'm sure, although Simon Galloway behind him, he wants a piece of this action, and so too does Brendan McIntyre as Lucas Vitali shakes his head in disbelief at the mistake that he made. Out of iPone Oils back straight into Matrice Dampers for the last time.
Yeah, coming onto the Swann Insurance main straight for the last time, and you wouldn't believe that Simon Galloway is riding on one leg there, Lance. He's trying everything possible to get on the slipstream to get in front of Brad Swallow's bike. I don't think he can do it. I don't think he's close enough.
Well, almost a perfect start to a perfect weekend for Brad Swallow. He takes race number 2 out ahead of Simon Galloway. Brendan McIntyre tried hard, and that minor mistake of Lucas Vitali from 1st to 4th.
Yes, very tight at the front there, and great racing by all those riders. And Brad Swallow got Simon Galloway by 0.1 of a second.
You don't get much closer in Superbike racing. This has been race number 2 of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbike Formula Oz A grade, FX, C and D grade. And as you see, Brad Swallow, Galloway, McIntyre, Vitali, your top 4. Dominic De Leon, Kelvin Riley, Brett Kitchen, Con Kokoris, Tim Griffith, and rounding up the front page, Damien Sutton on his Kawasaki ZX-10R.
You know, it was hard work, that one. It was pretty good dogfighting throughout the race there. So, yeah, it was good. Made a couple little mistakes here and there, just trying to get past him, sort of thing. And you know, he rode awesome as well. And it's a shame he got bumped back a little bit. But you know, these boys here are riding awesome. Yeah, we'll go back and assess some of the changes we just made and just reevaluate them, and we'll try and go for race 3 as well.
That was a pretty hard race, that one. I was back in 5th there for a while, and I thought I better pull my finger out and have a bit of a go here, and I slowly caught him, and Lucas made a little mistake and got past him, but couldn't quite get Brad for the line. The tyres, obviously, with the heat, they're going off and stuff, and so it makes it pretty slippery, but it's some nice slides happening out there. It's good fun. It's good to watch the other boys sliding in front of you too, so it's good fun.
And chipping away for a while now, so, you know, I think this is the 3rd season back in, and this is about the time where, yeah, we're ready to, you know, live up to what A grade's supposed to be, and put in good lap times. That's happened this weekend so far. Good ride from Mr. Swallow there today. He's a fast young kid, and he's only going to get faster. Good talent for the future. Simon Galloway riding really well as well, so it's good to be around good, safe, fast riders.
This race on the program is one that's an absolute cracker. It is called the Stars of Tomorrow. It is for riders of any C and D grade class and any category of racing machine that has passed scrutineering.
Yeah, we've got Formula Oz, Superbike, Super Sport, and even Pro Twins as well, Lance, in this class.
Well, this is an opportunity for C and D grade riders against their own class or category of competitor to be able to showcase their talents, and who knows, a race team or principal rider out there may well be interested in picking them up. Getting a good start there, looked like it was Mark Nassif on board machine number 7, but he's been overtaken by a couple of the hot contenders, Tim Griffith, Con Kokoris. They're up at the front of the pack as well.
Look at the size of this field, Lance. This has to be one of the biggest fields we've seen in a long time here, with all the CD grade riders, and they're all out there having an extra race. And just remember, last year this race was dominated by Dominic De Leon, who is now a B grade and not eligible to race.
Well, officials were inundated with nominations after the mandatory meeting of riders early on in the day. Riders can come up and nominate their opportunity to race in this one. 30 competitors, none less.
Yeah, Con Kokoris leading him through for the first time over Tim Griffith. Con on his Yamaha and Tim on his Kawasaki.
Well, if you look at the mixture of riders and indeed machines, you've got the Triumph Daytona 675 of Bobby Ashman, you've got the Aprilia RSV4 of Aaron Breesy, for example, a CBR 1000 Honda of James Fruin, and so the list goes down, including a Suzuki GSX-R 600 of Nathan Brumby about midfield.
And there's about 5 or 6 R6 Supersport machines in there as well. So it's all gathering round. They go through the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill section of the circuit, down Iphone back straight. As we saw, Aaron Breeze on his Aprilia, they're leading that back section.
And again, a compliment to all of the riders for the preparation of their machines there. Having a look at a couple of the mid-pack battles there. Christian Carroll on his ZX-10R doing a good job.
Yeah, Hamish McMurray's there as well, one of the protagonists we've seen riding for a long time, always enjoying his motorcycle racing now. But here comes number 18, that is Tim Griffith up the inside of Mark Nassif through turn 1. Races World.
A very determined ride there from the Flight Doctor mounted Triumph Daytona 675 of Bobby Ashman as well. Here's a replay of the start, and that rider that I mentioned, Ashman, actually was the rider that got the whole shot there in turn 1, the Races World corner.
Yeah, Bobby Ashman on the smaller 675, so a little bit easier to get off the line maybe there compared to the bigger 1000cc machines.
But it wasn't long before the tick signs mounted Con Kokoris, as you mentioned, on his Yamaha 404, took the lead down into turn number 2, the bikebiz.com.au corner.
Yeah, so Con Kokoris out front now on his number 404 Yamaha R1 there with Tim Griffith. Mark Nassif is there as well. Jeremy Mears is up there as well as Christian Carroll on his ZX-10R.
The beauty of this sort of racing, Tim, is that on experience, if you like, C and D grade riders, and on different machines, it gives the riders an opportunity to be able to test their prowess on this circuit in preparation for the actual class of racing that they've entered here this weekend as part of the Swann Super Series.
And extra additional track times always welcome, yes. Lance, especially against riders of their own skill here and their own classes, so enough to showcase their own ability in against like-minded riders.
Bobby Ashman there just getting a little bit too wide, allowing the opportunity for that rider that was in fourth to get up into third, but it's all action aplenty at the front of the pack at the moment with the FTR Racing Jeremy Mears on his Yamaha R1M trying to chase down the lead of the Tixline's Con Kokoris on board his Yamaha.
Yeah, that's Jeremy Mears right on the back wheel now of Con Kokoris. It's gone pretty wide there. Bikebiz.com.au gives Mears a bit of a look up, but no. Up and over there comes Con Kokoris through turn number 3, getting ready to come down the bikehandle.com.au drop-off.
Here's a replay now of an incident earlier on that we mentioned there, the 19 of Bobby Ashman just being overtaken on the inside. Here's a replay again of that last corner incident down in turn 2, the bikebiz.com.au. You can see there that Kokoris he held his resolve on the outside, didn't he? He wasn't going to give up. He wanted and knew that he had the inside line through turn 3.
Yeah, very difficult part of that circuit. Multiple apexes through turn 2, bikebiz.com. Oh, who was that? That was number 19 there on his machine, out of the seat onto the dirt. Lucky to stay on that machine.
Well, in fact, Tim, we can confirm from race control that the number 19 is the FTR Racing mounted John Gabriel Lane, not, as we've been calling him, Bobby Ashman.
Yeah, and a great effort by Jean Gabriel Lane, because he actually lost it, had a crash in the first of the Superbike races today, Lance. So great effort for his team to get that bike up and running for the stars of tomorrow. And
I guess it reconfirms what we've said about track time in these extra races as well, Tim.
Yes, it does. But the racing's definitely out in front. But here he comes again, Jean Gabriel Lane, a replay of that little mishap he had before. Big back end slide, chucks the wheel stand onto the concrete, onto the dirt, but keeps the power to the ground like a good racer does, Lance.
He's very lucky to be able to have maintained traction on that back wheel, because if he'd have slid out wider, he would have been in more trouble than what he was. But in the meantime, let's turn our attention back to the pointy end of the field as the riders negotiate Dunlop Sportsmax up towards Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill.
Yeah, it's all Con Kokoris at the moment, isn't it, at the front? He's having a great ride leading this race from Tim Griffith, Nassif, Jean Gabriel Lane is up there as well, and Mark Nassif.
So riders negotiating that fast left-hander. Very important to be able to get the line correct, and everybody has a different approach through turn 9, especially considering the bump on the inside of the circuit that has developed over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I saw Jean Gabriel Lane take a totally different line than he had the previous lap. They're staying on the black stuff, but look at the race out in front. It's Kokoris and it's Griffith, and it's Mark Nassif as well. No, he's in third place, and number 18 is Tim Griffith, now relegated to third, but it is Jeremy Mears on his Yamaha R1M in second spot.
Yeah, doing a good job as Mears. He's been chasing the tail now for a couple of laps of Con Kokoris, and that has certainly opened up the opportunity for the rider in third place to come up and mix it up.
Big braking manoeuvre by Mears, and he can't keep it on the circuit there, Lance. Outbraked himself into bikebiz.com.au.
Well, here we see a replay of Mears being forced a little bit wide there, Tim, and unfortunately ran out of racing room, but no harm, no foul. He'll get back onto the circuit, but in the meantime, that opens up the opportunity for Tim Griffith to take up the challenge now of Con Kokoris leading the race.
Yeah, he's definitely closed down Tim Griffith on his ZX-10R. Con Kokoris still leaving this race. He's had a great race so far, Kokoris, hasn't he? It's taking all the advantage out in front.
Well, he's certainly been soaking up all of the heat. There's been no problems for him at the moment, but you can see that coming into this latter stages with only a little over one more lap to go, the Coolman Logistics Tim Griffith mounted Kawasaki ZX-10R rider is coming on in his own in the latter stages.
Here he's been able to see the lines of the riders out in front, so he'd know where he can make his pass through there, but he's right on the back tail, nearly takes the duck tail off Kokoris' R1 machine there, losing a little bit of drive too, which is going to cost him down the end of the Swann Insurance main straight.
Yeah, you don't want to do that on the beginning of the last lap, do you? You want it to be quite up on the rear wheel of Concourus because you can maximise the opportunity of slipstream, as we've said many a time, but he does get a good line out of turn one, the Races World, for a run round the outside down into bikebiz.com. You just don't do that.
That was a big move there by Tim Griffith, and as we saw the last couple of laps, Kokoris has had some trouble going through our bikebiz.com.au, and Tim Griffith has taken the advantage to be in front on the last lap of the race.
Down the bottom of bikehaggle.com.au, drop over and into the Dunlop Sportsmax turns for the last time. Tim Griffith has left his best till last, but Concourus, that has led for 5 of these 6 laps, does not want to give it away.
Yes, and here's a replay of that braking manoeuvre, and how hard on the brakes was Tim Griffith on his ZX10 there. That was a great move by Tim there to go around the outside.
A superb piece of racing from a degrader. He kept that bike upright long enough to be able to tip it into bikebiz.com.au and still maintain the power that he needed. In the meantime, with only a few corners to go, out of turn 9 for the run down the iPhone oils back straight for the last time and into Matrice Dampers. He's done a great job to leave his best till last, Tim Griffiths.
Yeah, he's going to have a drag race to the line with Concourus, but have great riding there by both these riders. I don't think Con is close enough to get any slipstream advantage. Tim Griffiths has ridden the perfect race there, Lance, to overtake on the last lap. It looks like he's going to take the victory in the Stars of Tomorrow race.
He certainly does, on board the Kuhlman Logistics Kawasaki ZX10R. Everybody tip your hats to Tim Griffith, who did a great job and left his best till last, as we said, defeating Concourus in a narrow margin, with Mark Nassif and Jean-Gabriel Lane battling it out for the 3rd placing.
And confirmation for the other riders there. Jean-Gabriel Lane in 4th, Jeremy Mears on his R1 in 5th, Christian Carroll, John Howie, Aaron Breeze on his Aprilia, Hamish Murray finishing 9th, and rounding out the top 10, James Fruin on his CBR 1000 RR Honda.
I'm knackered after that. I only started racing last year, so pretty good to come away with the win today. We're going to Queensland in July or August, and we're going to come back here in the end of the year as well, so hopefully continue all the way to the end of the year.
Yeah, like last lap I was looking on the other side, wrong side. He tricked me, came from the inside, all his, yeah. But no, awesome, I really enjoyed it, and we had a really good last lap run, yeah.
Well, there's been some great action here at Sydney Motorsport Park so far, but don't go too far away on the other side of this. Join us for the 3rd and final Superbike race. Will Brad Swallow make it 3 from 3? The action is set to continue here at Sydney Motorsport Park with race 3 of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbike. Now, one of the riders that is at the pointy end of the field is Lucas Vitali. He made a mistake in race number 2. Can he do it in race number 3? Let's check in with him.
So mainly it's been getting used to the tyres and the power of the bike. It handles fantastic. So as far as sort of changing lines and stuff like that, more to take advantage of the power and having traction control on the bike this year. So getting my head around things like that and just getting used to the power of the bike. It's an absolute bullet. So really squaring corners off properly and riding it like a superbike has been the main thing I've had to focus on. BC Performance have put it together for me, and Kelvin has been out at the track a couple of times helping me set it up, so coming to grips with it pretty quick. Just hoping that I can run at the front with the top guys.
Interesting comments there from Lucas Vitali. We certainly look forward to the progression of him as a rider on a superbike after the transition from Suzuki to Kawasaki.
Yes, a much newer machine there for Lucas this year on the At1 racing machine, and interesting comments about use of traction control there, Lance.
Yes, it's certainly something that riders need to get used to. We're on board the At1 Pro Race Suits Kawasaki of Lucas Vitali. As we look at the grid now, Brad Swallow, Simon Galloway, Brendan McIntyre on row 1.
Row 2 is Lucas Vitale, Dominic De Leon and Kelvin Riley.
Brett Kitchen, Concourus and Tim Griffiths share row number 3.
And all the way down the field there down to 18, Hamish McMurray.
Yeah, all the way through to 21 riders competing this opening round, 3rd and final race of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes. Goodness me, a great start there from the inside of Brendan McIntyre, and it looks like he's got the whole shot, but not for long. Again, for the third race in a row, Brad Swallow takes out the whole shot.
Here he seems to like that wide line there, but it's going to be a great battle into bikebiz.com.au. Three abreast there, Galloway, McIntyre and Swallow, but Swallow takes the lead through BikeBiz.
And Lucas Vitali providing us with a great shot of the minor placings battle early on down through bikebiz.com.au. Out of turn 3 for the run over the top of bikehaggle.com.au drop over.
Yeah, that's Kelvin Riley on that onboard footage just in front of Dominic DeLeon. Kelvin, the person that's actually built those machines for the At1 racing team.
Lucas Vitali in the meantime, he gets up the inside. I think it was of Brett Kitchen there. Kitchen on the 55 in the background, but it's all about Brad Swallow backing it in again through Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days turn 6.
Yeah, Brad's definitely going for a three-peat here, Lance. It didn't have a good qualifying session yesterday, but 3 out of 3 would go great in his resume, wouldn't it?
It certainly would be a great way to start this year's Swann Super Series, and indeed the premier class of racing, the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes, incorporating the Formula Oz A grade and the FX C and D graders as well.
Yeah, we just saw Lucas Vitale get the better of Kelvin Riley on his ZX10R, but at the front, coming through Machias dampers onto the Swan Insurance main straight, it is still Brad Swallow from Simon Galloway. Great ride there by the Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha R1. And don't forget, he's riding with one leg just as he gets around the outside of Brendan McIntyre down the Swan Insurance main straight.
Well, just to clarify that, he has 2 legs, but one of them's working better than the other. He swoops to the inside of Brad Swallow, heading down into bikebiz.com.au. Vitali up the inside of Brendan McIntyre and right up onto the rear wheel now of Simon Galloway. Forces himself, and I'm sure Brendan McIntyre, wider than both of them would have liked, but now occupies third and a realistic chance of gaining another position up over the top of bikehaggle.com.au drop over and down into Dunlop Supermax.
Yeah, Vitale definitely closing down on the front 2 riders. A big look up the inside of Galloway there. Can't quite do it, getting ready to come through the Sydney Motorsport Park Corporate Hill part of the circuit.
Here's a replay now on board Vitali from the start. You could see McIntyre get a cracker of a start on the inside. I thought he was going to get the whole shot, but to Brad Swallow's credit, he managed to maintain the pace on board that Kawasaki Connection ZX10R.
Very great overtaking manoeuvre by Simon Galloway, using the slipstream once again down that long Sydney Motorsport Park front straight. But here he comes, Lucas Vitale up the inside of McIntyre into BikeBiz.
Out of BikeBiz they came in that replay. Now on board live as they head out of the final turns on this circuit. The Matrice dampers turns 10, 11 and 12 for the run down the Swan Insurance main straight.
Lucas Vitale using the slipstream once again, as we saw in race number 2 there, but Brad Swallow, having none of it this time around, leads them through Races World turn 1. Let's see who's got the biggest breaks into bikebiz.com.au, because we know Lucas would want to get one better over Brad Swallow this time, but no, Brad Swallow wider line there through bikebiz.com.au, but all 4 riders now closing right up to the front.
Brendan McIntyre back in 3rd, Simon Galloway 4th, Dominic DeLeon 5th. You could throw the proverbial tally-ho paper over the front 5 runners at the moment, and we've just received confirmation, unfortunately for the rider of machine number 6, Brendan McIntyre, on the Western Motorcycles Sydney 7 Friday Suzuki GSX-R 1000. He has been adjudged as jumping the start and will receive a 15-second penalty.
Well, you did say he had a great start there, as we see Brad Swallow losing the back end into Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days. Has this given the advantage to Vitale? It has there, Lance, as he comes around to take the lead.
Yeah, great run up the inside. That's all he needed, was one sniff of an opportunity, and McIntyre, I'm sure, will be shown the penalty that he's been given for jumping the start. Brad Swallow, in the meantime, shaking his head in disbelief over something there, Tim. Didn't quite catch what it was, but he ran wide enough to let McIntyre up the inside of him. And again, McIntyre gets forced a little bit wide by going too hard, charging through Matrice dampers.
Yeah, I think Swallow outbraked himself into turn 9 there, shaking his head on the exit, but all the work for him to do now to get in front of Vitale. But Dominic DeLeon, a great ride by him to sit at the back of this leading package, going to try at the inside of McIntyre, can't quite do it on his At1 racing machine.
And Galloway got up the inside of McIntyre with no problems at all, and I thought there that Dominic De Leon might follow suit. He gets good drive out of Race's World, but not enough to be within pouncing distance at the moment. In the meantime, it's all about Lucas Vitale out in front on the At1 Pro Race Suits Kawasaki ZX-10R.
And don't forget, all the control tyres run in this class, Lance. So this is the third race on their Dunlop control tyres. So who has maintained them the best condition at the end of the race? And it looks like Vitale at the moment.
Here's a replay now of Brad Swallow just going a little bit too wide in through Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days turn 6. Couldn't get the power down to the ground effectively enough, and that allowed the opportunity for Lucas Vitale to get up the inside of him. Then he made that mistake in turn 9, but made up for it on the run down iPone Oils back straight. But Brendan McIntyre did not want to give it up. Went in a little bit too hot, ran wide and suffered the consequences.
Which made him lose the drive coming down and letting Simon Galloway out in front as well. So now we have Vitale, Swallow and Simon Galloway on his Chris Watson Motorcycles R1 there. But looks like Vitale's got a bit of a buffer at the moment.
I'm just impressed at the At1 Pro Race Suits team. Of course, Dominic De Leon there on screen back in 5th placing. He must have a big smile on his face, wider than a split watermelon, I reckon. You can see that Lucas Vitale is doing the team proud out in front. In the meantime, Brad Swallow's just been overtaken by Simon Galloway. And what about the new team manager, Stuart Habblethwaite, sitting back there in the pits? He'll have a grin on him like a Cheshire cat, won't he?
Yeah, Stuart had green blood from way back in the 90s, riding his ZXR 750R Superbike. Great to see Stewie helping out the At1 racing team there, but a great battle all the way through. There's Brett Kitchen on his always immaculately prepared BMW.
Somebody going extremely wide there, just getting a little bit balked on the outside. It may well have been Brett Harper on board his Yamaha R1, the rider of machine number 17, tried the outside manoeuvre and ran out of braking room.
Yeah, he's a great day so far, Brett Harper in round 1. He's been right up in the top 10 in every race so far, but a great battle here for the minor placings. There's Damien Sutton on another one of the At-Racing ZX-10Rs.
Yeah, the At1 Pro Race Suits, White's racing product, Kawasaki ZX-10R. Plenty of them out there.
But that's Simon Barbacello out in front of this second group at the moment, and a great ride for race number 3 for Simon, holding out the, you'd say the more experienced Brett Kitchen on his BMW machine. But Brett's having a big look up the inside of turn 9, coming out of Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days, can't quite do it.
Here's a replay now of that overtaking manoeuvre, the drafting of the Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha of Simon Galloway up the inside of the Kawasaki Connections ZX-10R of Brad Swallow.
Yes, we haven't seen that all day. We've seen the Kawasaki a little bit more the top speed, but I think Brad Swallow's tyres may be suffering a little bit more than the riders out in front.
Down over the top of bikehaggle.com.au, drop off over towards Dunlop Sportsmax, turns 4 and 5. The right-left combination. So important to get the drive up over the hill here, Tim, into the Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days Corporate Hill Turn 6.
Yes, it is there, Lance. And as we see Vitale and Galloway pulling a bit of a gap from third place Swallow. So it looks like the race is going to be between Vitale and Galloway. And both these riders would like to finish the day off with a first place on the podium.
Brendan McIntyre back in 4th place, right up onto the rear of the Kawasaki Connections Kawasaki ZX-10R of Brad Swallow. So that Western Motorcycles 7 Friday Suzuki is doing a great job against the, I guess you could say, younger bikes in front of him.
Yes, he's ridden that machine for a few years now, Brendan, and like we mentioned earlier in the coverage, Land, looking forward to the brand new, much improved GSXR coming out later in the year.
It's a great effort from Brendan, considering that he was, 12 years out of the saddle, came back and started again a couple of seasons ago. As we can see, this Simon Galloway trying to get a good drive down the inside of Lucas Vitale, but he'll have none of that. Getting back to Brendan McIntyre briefly, coming back after injury as well from a nasty accident at Wakefield Park.
And straight up to the pointy end, showing great pace straight up as coming back from his, like you said, injury and motorcycle racing layoff. But look at the riders now out in front. They've pulled a decent gap there as they come, getting ready to come through Dunlop Sportsmax over bikehaggle.com.au hill. Brad Swallow still maintaining that third spot over Brendan McIntyre.
These two out the front have been battling it out for years now in the Formula Oz. It's always been about Simon Galloway, but in the final stages, with only half a lap to go, Lucas Vitale is doing the At1 Pro Race team on board his Kawasaki, nothing but proud.
Yeah, excellent riding there by Vitale, and one man that will be smiling, even though he's down in 5th spot, to have a race victory under his team in the first round be fantastic for Dominic De Leon, and a great race there by him sitting in 5th spot.
And looking out of our commentary position, I can see team manager Stuart Habblethwaite jumping out of his skin with joy as Lucas Vitale heads them through the final turn of this circuit at Sydney Motorsport Park. The Matrice Dampers turns 10, 11 and 12. He's heading home on board the At1 Pro Race Suits Kawasaki. He'll be victorious ahead Simon Galloway on board the Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha, and a creditable third place after 2 early victories for the Kawasaki Connections mounted Brad Swallow on his ZX-10R.
Yeah, Brendan McIntyre and Dominic De Leon rounding out the top 5. A great race for number 3 there, Lance, but the At1 racing team, they will be ecstatic at the moment.
Absolutely overjoyed with a performance like that. What a great way to finish off a great race meeting.
You're unfortunate for Brad Swallow, couldn't get the 3 out of 3, but confirmation of the results there. We have Vitale, Galloway, Brad Swallow in 3rd, Brendan McIntyre, Dominic De Leon rounding out the top 5.
A great effort in 6 for Kelvin Riley to come back and finish in the top 10. So too for Damien Sutton, making it 3 of the At1 Pro Race team entries finishing in the top 10.
I'm pretty happy about that. I made it hard for myself again. Off the start big time, so I just had to battle my way back from, I think, 5th or 6th, but it was good. The tyres were absolutely shot. I could feel the guys hounding me the whole time. I just had to keep it together and not make any mistakes. So massive thanks to Team At1 Pro Race Suits, BC Performance for the bike. The traction control was going off its head. It was awesome. I had a front end moment in the second race, so I was a little bit tentative on the front, but the back you can manage. You just got to slide around. So we're all in the same boat. So yeah, it was good fun. Yeah, stoked.
That was a good battle with Lucas. So I made it hard for myself too. I was back in 5th again for a while, but I couldn't quite get in for the line again. The Kawasaki's just a little bit too quick, but I really enjoyed it. It's great fun.
Just had a couple doozies, I suppose, but yeah, kudos to the boys. You know, they're riding awesome. I just had, struggling with that rear tyre. It seemed to be pretty cooked, so that's all right. We'll throw some new tyres on for tomorrow, and we'll have the qualifier as a spare tomorrow, so we should be able to get that extra race out of us, and hopefully do just as good tomorrow.
So leading the bikehaggle.com.au Superbike category is Brad Swallow after round 1 of the Swann Super Series. Simon Galloway in 2nd, Lucas Vitale in 3rd, P4 Brendan McIntyre, and rounding up the top 5 is Dominic De Leon. Damien Sutton leads the Formula Oz A-grade class, whilst Con Kokoris leads the Formula Extreme C and D graders. Thanks for your company here at Sydney Motorsport Park. This is the opening part of our coverage of the Swann Super Series. On behalf of Tim Graham and the entire team, I'll bid you farewell, but keep your eyes out. Plenty more action coming in the future weeks.